Hi, this is Barry here, and you're very welcome to today's podcast episode from WriteCome.com. And today's podcast episode is entitled Business Advice from SpongeBob. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of little SpongeBob or not. In our house he is, well, apart from my wife, who as soon as he comes on the TV, she usually leaves the room, and if he starts chuckling, it just irritates her and she just has to get away from him. But in our house, I don't know if it's just our little sick sense of humour, but he appeals to the majority of the house. Now, there's probably another reason why he appeals to us too. It's just recently I found out that some of the illustrators on the show were from Ireland, and they're always trying to get little in-jokes in the show. Now, there's like a quality team who kind of oversee all the illustrations done for the cartoon, but sometimes the Irish illustrators are always trying to get little in-jokes passed through, but nobody notices. In one case, they had mentioned, now I don't know if you know the show, but there's little kind of submarine buses that kind of travel around the seabed, taking the fish and the characters here and there, but on one little bus it actually said that it was going to Ballymun. Now, if you're not Irish, you don't know, but the Ballymun is actually a part of Dublin, and you know, I chuckled when I seen that on the front of the bus. But anyway, getting away from the illustrators and all that, the business advice from SpongeBob, it came about from an episode I watched recently called Opposite Day. Now, in the episode, Squidward, who was a neighbour of SpongeBob, was trying to sell his house, and he knew that he couldn't sell the house because SpongeBob was gonna scupper his plan of selling in some way. Something was going to come up. There was going to be some disaster happen, and the sale of his house would fall through. So rather than telling him that he was selling the house, he came up with this idea of opposite day to try and put SpongeBob on the right path that would help him actually sell the house. So he told him that it was a national holiday, opposite day, and of course SpongeBob believed him, and for the rest of the episode then he was going around doing the complete opposite of what he should be doing. In the first instance, he had told his best friend Patrick that he hated his guts and he never wanted to see him again. And of course, like most cartoons do, by the time it came to the end of the episode, SpongeBob had backfired on Squidward, and the plan was a total disaster. But anyway, that episode made me think of opposite, and actually doing the opposite of what the majority of people do. Now, recently I bought a book. It was part co-authored by Dan Kennedy, and the title of the book was it was called Book the Business: How to Make Money with Your Book Without Selling a Copy. Now, to me, that is opposite day thinking. If you think about it, most authors think, well, if I'm going to be successful, I have to sell as many copies of my book. But not many of them will actually say to themselves, you know what, to be successful, I don't need to sell any copies of my book. To be successful, I need to give away copies of my book. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that sounds crazy. How can you actually do that? Now, I highly recommend you buy the book because it is well worth reading, and it's going to give you kind of, food for thought, particularly in the first introductory chapter, where they actually speak about the statistics of writers and publishers, and how much money authors actually make from the books. How much money they get, what percentage of, the book price that they get, and, how all the books are all fighting for shelf space in the bookstores and all those different things. And, in that case, the competition is fierce. Everybody is trying to clamber over each other to try and get their book in front of an audience. Whereas when you actually go the opposite way, the opposite day thinking, there's next to nobody that you're in competition with, because the majority of people don't consider actually giving away their book. Now, again, as I said, you should buy the book because there's a lot of great content in it. But some of the ideas that I had given in the book was, in the case of trying to get yourself in front of maybe the local media, maybe newspapers, magazines, TVs, maybe particularly if you were trying to get maybe speaking engagements or something like that, having a book is a great way to to get you articles maybe in the local paper, to get you maybe a slot on the local TV show, to get to showcase how much of an expert you are on your particular thing because you have a book. Now, before you go thinking, well, that's great, I'm going to send off a PDF version of my book, or I'm going to send off a Kindle version or whatever. In all of those cases, they highly recommend, or the only book that they actually give away is a paperback version of the book. If you think about it, like a Facebook ad, when you think, well, I need to sell books, I need to do maybe a Facebook ad, but a Facebook ad is only in front of someone's eye for a split second. If you think, well, I can give away a Kindle version or a PDF version of my book, again, you know, the majority of times people download those books, you know, they may have a hard drive full of content already, and the chances are they're probably not going to read that book maybe for a couple of weeks, and by that stage maybe it's going to be forgotten about and it's going to be lost on somebody's hard drive. Whereas a paperback book can't be ignored. You know, if you think about it, if somebody had sent you a paperback book in the post today, even if you didn't want to read it, there is a good chance that you probably won't throw it in the trash. You know, it'll either be lying on your coffee table, you know, it'll be lying on the countertop, you know, you may give it to a friend or something just to get rid of it, or you may give it away at the local charity shop or whatever, but that book is always going to be around. Whereas when you consider somebody maybe selling, you know, maybe looking for a speaking engagement, or maybe looking for time in the local paper, maybe they're going to send off a press release, maybe a digital, you know, a digital press release kit or something like that, maybe articles and something like that. Whereas, you know, it's easy to kind of put those aside and forget about them. But, you know, if you went to your local newspaper and you sent them a paperback version of your book, you know, that book will probably be lying on their desk for a while, and because it's in you know, in line of their site, they're eventually going to probably pick it up and have a look through it. And as again too, you know, when you think about a press release, it's all kind of look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. But when you have a look and you could maybe just give away a paperback version, it's completely different impression that you're giving that person. It's not salesy. You're showing that you're an expert. You know, you're not kind of pushing yourself on that person. It's kind of, you know, in fact, as Dan Kenny likes to do, he likes to do attraction market. He likes attracting people to him. And in that case there, you'll probably get maybe an article in a magazine or something like that, or a mention in a magazine, because you have showed that person that you are an expert by, you know, give them all that content for them to read through. And, you know, the paperback version of the book will actually be a lot better than the digital version. And that's something I am going to think about doing too, because on the WriteCome site I do give away a free report, and probably a lot of people don't pay much attention to it because of the digital version. And I've been playing around with the idea of maybe going ahead and doing a paperback version of the book instead, and giving away free and then posting it out to people. Because people will probably they'll probably pay more attention to it, they'll probably read through it a couple of times. You know, if you think about it too, when's the last time you read through a digital version of a book a couple of times? The majority of times you probably read through it once and then you moved on to something else. Whereas the paperback version, as I said before, is lying around, and chances are you're going to pick it up, even if it's only 5 minutes sitting on the toilet or something like that. You know, it's going to be lying around the house, and you'll probably read through it a couple of times, and you'll probably pay more attention to it because it's kind of physical thing. It seems more valuable. It's something you can hold on. There's it's, you know, tactile and something like that. So whatever you're doing with your business, have a look at, you know, the opposite day thinking. You know, if you're not happy with, you know, your writing, if you're not happy with, you know, how your mindset is maybe when it comes to writing, maybe you get up in the morning and you're thinking, oh God, I have to write today. You know, maybe you need opposite thinking. Maybe you need to go maybe from doing your writing late at night, maybe to try and do it first thing in the morning. You know, whatever habits you have, if the habits you have aren't working for you, you know, take a look at them and try doing the opposite. Because in the majority of cases, if you probably do the opposite to what you're doing now, you're going to get different results, and they may be the better results, and they may actually be putting you on the path that you need to go, you know. So have a look at what you're doing today, put into place the opposite day thinking. You know, like I had earlier there about the authors giving away books. You know, maybe there's something in your business that everybody is doing one way, and because of that it's so competitive. You know, sit down with a pen and paper and just say, you know, what is the opposite of I could do today? You know, when I think back to when I was doing the children's picture books, you know, creating children's picture books, the market was very, very busy, as you'd expect. A lot of people were putting books into that. And then I just said to myself, well, why do I need to fight for the Amazon Kindle store or whatever? Maybe I could do something else. And in fact, I took one of my books and I created a puzzle app out of it, and it was a simple app. Basically, I gave the digital version of the book in the app, and they could read it in the app. But then there was also another couple of tabs, or a couple of buttons in the app that somebody could go over and they could actually play puzzles that were based on the characters in the book. It kind of, you know, one of those sliding tile pictures where they had to slide the tiles around to create the picture and finish it off. And it was a very, very simple thing. And it really surprised me at the time. You know, a couple of weeks later I went back and looked at the stats, and it was going free in the Apple iTunes store, and I couldn't believe it when I seen the stats one day that it was downloaded 2,000 times in 1 week. Like 2,000 people. I know that the app was free, so that, you know, that appealed to a lot of people. It was free, but I had those 2,000 people's eyeballs on my app. I wasn't competing with everybody else in the Amazon Kindle store. So have a look at what you're doing. Is there some way that you can do the opposite? And by doing so, you're going to put yourself in front of, you know, a good sized audience, but you're not going to be competing with anybody. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. I hope it gave you food for thought, or maybe gave you a couple of ideas for your business. Now, if you did enjoy the episode, you'll probably see a couple of social media buttons nearby. I'd really appreciate if you just click one or two and maybe just share the content with people that you know would like to hear it and maybe make a difference in their business too. If you'd like to know more about me, or if you'd like to know more of the podcast episodes, if you come over to WriteCome.com, that's WRITECOME.com, you'll find all the podcast episodes over there, along with a huge host of posts and articles and videos which will really make a difference to your writing career. So as always, thanks for sharing your time with me again today. Take care and have a great day. Bye bye.